Hey, everybody. It's the Title IX podcast on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. I'm Steph Copley, joined by my co-host, Alisa Woods. Our entire podcast network at Cyclone Fanatic is fueled by Cody Road. As you can see, we are not in studio. We're in our home studios today, but we thank our friends at the Wild Rose Casino and Resorts for that beautiful studio that we normally get to record in. Hi, Alisa.
Hi. My
How are you?
studio is Malcolm's bedroom. What's your
Well,
studio?
my studio is my office desk, which is, where I spend a lot of time,
Yeah.
for better or for worse. Shout out to the sponsor of our podcast, the Ivy College of Business at Iowa State. Students are on break right now, Thanksgiving break, but I got to give a shout out to the student section at the football game. I was concerned, and I know Jamie Pollard was concerned that student section might not be full because of the early departures of some students, but they showed up. I'm confident that many of those were our Ivy College of Business students as well.
Yeah.
So, good job, students. Crossover season is in full swing, Alisa. There's so much going on that I actually forgot that our men played on Sunday until like moments before tip-off. I was like, oh my gosh, it's here.
I know.
We're in it.
I know. We're in it. They played at the same time as the Packers, so Arnold and I
Did
had
you guys
to switch
double dip?
back and forth.
Yeah. 'Tis the season.
Yeah.
What do you want to start with? Football?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
we can
let's
start with football.
All right. If you've been listening, Lisa and I have tried to talk about our winners and losers for every football weekend. I'll start with our winners, Alisa. My first winner is whoever we contracted with for those fireworks.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they can't go away now. Like those fireworks, that has to be part of just like our every game experience, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, people expect it now.
They're pretty awesome. I had a video from the game where we were in the very last row, and like I was zeroed in on Rosa's face to see what she thought of all the players coming in, and then they set off the fireworks and it's her being like,
That's so cute.
Yeah, it's a really good video.
But here's the funny thing, like I react that way, and I know they're coming now, and it's just something about it elevates that game day experience. And I know it's silly maybe, but it really does work. So I think whoever we contracted with, the winner of the season, because those are good.
Many more.
I'll also give a shout out to Mother Nature for a gorgeous fall night on Saturday. I mean, we have played some really hot games and some really cold games. And Saturday was that sweet spot that was right in the middle.
Oh, that's
nice. It was
nice.
like long sleeve t-shirts during tailgate and then winter coat, yes, but not like a uncomfortable cold for the game.
Yeah.
The only bummer is I wish it would have been 35 below for Texas.
That's true. That's true. That Arnold was saying, he's like, ugh, I wish we'd get a little breeze around here for Texas.
Make it as miserable. We should have put like snow machines on their sideline and their sideline alone.
Yeah.
My other winner, and then I'll turn it over to you for winners, was Rocco Becht. He went 24-32 with more than 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Now, he did have an interception in a key possession of the game where the tides had turned and we had the momentum and then things went sideways. So I'm not overlooking that. But the fact is we had 9 total rushing yards. So he's got a lot on his shoulders. He's a freshman, and I'm calling him my winner of the week despite the loss, because I just feel like he's the leader of the team, and it feels like he's willing to take that on his shoulders.
Yeah. This is a thought that I had earlier today. Are we just kind of ushering in his dad as like the new, like Brock
Mr.
Purdy's dad?
Yes. Yeah. I think both his parents.
Do they kind of resemble each other, the dads?
In the way that like they're all American men type of guys, like the classic anthem. And it's funny because Brock's mom is this, like blondie, like very much
California.
Like,
yeah.
And Rocco's mom is beautiful in her own way, like this dark beauty. She turned 50 years old last week, I think, I saw in a tweet, and I was like, oh my God, if I look like that when I'm 40, I'm gonna feel really good.
She's more like New York.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
so it's just funny. We have these quarterback parents who are gorgeous and like just
No.
draw the attention to themselves. That's a
Yeah,
great point.
I just think of like, and there's also sometimes every once in a while there'll be a player's parents or mom or dad or something that's on Twitter and will be kind
Yes.
of become part of the like Twitter
The
family and
family.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Caleb
always thought that
Grill's
was kind of
mom, Lena
fun.
Grill,
Yeah.
was always like that in the best
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And Meg Yesman Miller McGraw's
Yes.
mom too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
agree with that. So those are my winners.
yeah.
And you're right. I think Rocco's parents should be our winners as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So my winner was Ben Bramer, and I was kind of looking up his stats and they weren't super impressive, but I think that just like it passed the eye test in the way that his catches were at really big times. There was
Sure.
one that I think was across the very like middle of the field, and he went up and got it, and it was a very like Charlie Kohler looking catch and play and everything. And I think Arnold even said like, "Oh, that's like giving Charlie Kohler vibes." You know what I mean? Like,
Those are good vibes.
yeah, yeah. And for him to be a freshman and to be looking forward to so many more seasons with him, I think is exciting. And I think that it's a name that will, I hope, be as big as Charlie Kohler later in his
That's a good one.
later in his season. So
yeah, we have such a young team. I mean, I think
yeah.
that's incredibly important to remember as we close out the season, that these are guys we want to keep so we can continue to grow, and that hopefully they don't get poached. More on that later.
Yeah. And I was trying to think of a loser. And I mean, we lost, obviously. But we're not losers.
You can't cheat like that. No.
I know. But as I was thinking of losers, my mind just kept going to another thing I want to talk about later in the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So
let me for that part.
Can I save my loser for another sport?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, that's allowed. I'll allow it.
Okay.
I'll allow it.
What are
what
are your losers?
The run game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Kept going up the middle. That was actually, I think, was my red flag. That was my red flag. Rushing yards. Just tried to keep going up the middle, like at the same massive, hulking giant man.
They were like giant human beings on that Texas defensive line.
Yeah.
Like 14 of us put together.
I'm just wondering, do we have like a bounce it around to the edge type of running play, or
that is in fact
in
the technical term? The bounce it around to the edge.
Yeah.
It was interesting last night watching the Chiefs. There was on Monday Night Football, there was a play where Pacheco, it was a 4th and 1, I think it was Pacheco, went up the middle, and they had an overhead shot. So you could see how the play developed and you could see the hole that he ran through. And I just thought to myself, man, I wish we could do that.
Yeah. You know what?
There's just nothing.
I had that exact same thought on a kickoff return, and I'm honestly couldn't even tell you which team it was because it was just on the background. Last night we had a friend over for dinner, and I kind of had one eyeball on the game, just sort of watching it, but it was a kickoff return or a punt return or something, and the players,
it was the Chiefs. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, they started to kind of go around the outside, and they kept getting pushed back. And just in a split second of them realizing that all they're doing is getting pushed back, they turned back towards the middle and started going north and south. Just like in that split second, just decided, nope, gotta find a hole, can't lose any more ground. And I was like, that's the difference between like a college kick returner and an NFL kick returner.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I just feel like if you have less than double-digit rushing yards as a major college football program, you gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
And I know it's Texas. I know that they have an incredible run defense, but like 9 yards.
Yeah.
That's my loser. I have more losers. Special teams-ish. Special teams has gotten much better. But there was the missed field goal, there was a dropped punt, there was not Noel hit the punt return before Noel could get it. There was a situation where Noel let the punt drop 5 yards ahead of him. It was just off. And then of course that extra point that got blocked, which turned into ultimately a 4-point swing. It was just one of those games where it was like, man, that had those, feelings of old special teams. So I felt like we regressed there. Additional losers, the Texas Longhorns for being the Texas Longhorns. The lady in front of me who was wearing a Texas Longhorn sweatshirt with a Hawkeye tattoo on her cheek. Like, get out of here.
Why?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And she sat down and we kind of razzled her a little bit. Like, it was all in good fun. Never came back. So she understood. She got the message and she left as she should. And then lastly, I am a loser for having to leave at halftime with my 6-year-old who was just done. She was done. So I picked her up, carried her the mile back to the car, and we came home and listened to us lose on the radio.
Dang. I know that life, though. I know that life. And you are not a loser for that.
No,
you're a good
you're
mom.
Right. Thank you. It was just one of those, man, like,
yeah.
But I was happy to do it, and it was the right thing to do. But
yeah,
those 6-year-olds, man. They're something else.
They are something else.
All right. We turn away from Texas on to Kansas State this weekend. That's going to be an uphill battle. I think I just want to see us play a solid football game. That's my ask for Saturday.
Yeah.
What's your ask?
I think I'd just like both teams to have fun.
Moving on to men's basketball then.
No, I was thinking about something that I had said earlier about not being all that excited about a bowl game. And I think that then when we got to the bowl game, I was like, ooh.
Oh, that's good.
But
then
again, seeing some of those old habits that die hard popping up again in the Texas game and seeing just, gosh, that slow first half. And I know that we were playing great defense and that's why the score is so low. And I get that, like, Iowa watches this type of game every week and truly my heart goes out to them.
But it
sucked and it was not fun to watch.
No,
and it just right. Like not gaining any ground and just not getting anywhere and nothing working. And on either side of the ball, it was just kind of like, ugh.
I will say this, you're right. It's so frustrating, but I do see glimpses of like up tempo when Rocco starts cooking, things are fun again. And I am willing to give some grace knowing that this is a super young team, that we had to deal with a lot of off-season distractions with the gambling stuff. And I'm hopeful that a bowl game will not only give us extra practice, but will, like I mentioned earlier, prevent other teams from coming in and swooping in and saying, hey, it was a really bad season. Are you sure you want to stay there? So, I mean, the transfer period starts soon, and hopefully just the focus on the bowl game will prevent some of that.
Yeah. I think so. I guess my ask for this weekend is make me excited for a bowl game.
I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. All right. Men's basketball.
Yeah. Which I'm pumped about.
Just another arse kicking in the non-con.
Here's the thing. I cannot even let you get whatever you're going to say about this game out of your mouth because I'm so excited to say this, is that a game like this in the past, we would have scored 65 points. We still would have won by 30, but we would have scored 65 points.
It would have been the Iowa offense in football. That's what our offense was in basketball.
But it was just like we would win the games. We would beat bad teams at the beginning of the season the way that we were supposed to. Yes. But our offense would not be as efficient as it was supposed to. And
things
now
are changing.
Right. And I'm looking at a highly efficient, very efficient offense.
Statistically efficient, not just fun to watch,
right?
But statistically efficient.
And I'm seeing good 3-point shooters, and I'm seeing I'm seeing a point guard that sees himself as a scoring threat now.
Yes,
is not afraid to put the ball up.
Yep.
I'm seeing post players fighting for the ball getting in there for offensive rebounds. I'm seeing post players that are not a liability when they do get the ball. When they get the ball on rebounds, offensive rebounds, they're not bringing it down to their knees. They're keeping it high, going back up with it, being aggressive, still missing their free throws. But what are you going to do about that?
Some things never change, You know, it is fun though. I mean, I watched that game and it was kind of like, well, I don't even know what to say about it because it was such a blowout. Like, it's like there's nothing to pull away from that and criticize, which is how you want to go into the non-con or come out of the non-con.
Mm-hmm.
But everything you said, absolutely yes. And I think it's worth noting too, Omaha Blue had a really, really good game, 14 points, 6 of 7 shooting in 20 minutes of play. I mean, that's kind of what we're expecting. And it's going to take him a little while to get there, but he's on his way.
I think that it's interesting too that you say it's going to take him a little while to get there. They've played what, like 5 games?
Yeah,
I just wonder getting there.
Yeah,
we thought he was going to. That point is how high our expectations were for him.
Yeah, and with Hassan Ward out for the non-con, I think Omaha, stepping up to the plate is going to be even more important. So,
for sure.
They head to Orlando. I actually think they're there today or headed there today. They have that little bubble of VCU, Vatech, and Boise State, and then also in the field, Butler, Florida Atlantic, Penn State, and Texas A&M. So it's one of those tournaments that they could walk out of with a win. I think with is it a surfboard? Whatever trophy. You remember that from several years ago? They won.
Yeah.
I don't know what the trophy is for this tournament, but hopefully they just string some games together and have some fun for the Thanksgiving tournament.
Yeah, definitely.
So they're headed to Orlando. Our women are on their way to Las Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby.
So since our last pod, they lost against Drake, and we kind of had a feeling that might happen. The bummer is Iowa beat Drake Sunday night 113-90. And I know it's not the best measurement to compare performances against a mutual shared opponent as a barometer for how you're going to perform.
Right.
But I am a little concerned. And not just for Iowa, but for the teams we're going to face in the Big 12. Kansas State knocked off Iowa. That's not an easy matchup for us. In the past, when we've had our best players, I assure you it's not going to be this year. But then they turn around after a loss from Drake and absolutely kick Southern's rear on Monday.
Yeah.
Senior transfer Hannah Bellinger, 14 points. Are you okay? Good.
Am I?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That sounded very violent.
No, okay. We've talked about this before. I have asthma flare-ups when the seasons change, and it just causes fairly violent coughs.
Like that one.
Okay.
All right. You give me like a pause sign if you need me to pause.
No, they're productive coughs. We'll call them that.
Disgusting.
I know. They're nasty.
Hannah Bellinger, 14 points. She had 4 threes in the first half. So good showing for her. Freshman Addie Brown had 18 points. Addie Crooks had 16 points. Addie Brown was 7 for 8 from the field. Addie Crooks shot really well as well. It's no surprise that this team is going to rely on good shooting like our Iowa State teams in the past. The only thing that I was really concerned with about Monday's showing against Southern, 17 turnovers, Alisa.
Yeah.
We're missing our girl, Emily Ryan, the assassin. We're missing her deeply. And I think that is going to be a point of concern as we head into some more formidable opponents.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's no real update or timetable for her return. So we're just kind of all crossing our fingers at this point.
Yeah, I think that I don't want to say like this is a rebuilding year, but like very similar to our football team. I think that if you would have asked us a year ago what this team was going to look like, it was going to look a lot different. I think at this time last year, I can think of like 2 players that we were hoping to have that we don't have playing, maybe even 3 that we're hoping to have that playing regular minutes that are not playing. And I think that it's a tough season. I'm still excited to go to the games, but it reminds me of, and this is actually my beige flag.
You're
No, not my
spoiling
beige flag.
everything.
What is this? This is my
Is this your
loser. This is my loser.
Okay.
My losers this week were LSU, Iowa, and UConn women's basketball. And I think that those three teams losing really pointed out the parity of the women's game right now, and how there's not a group of 2 or 3 teams that are the only teams that are going to win a national championship. Right now,
it's just one. South Carolina. I mean, they have cruised right now. I mean, I'm not to say that they won't get beat, but so far they are the one.
But I'm saying that there's way more parity,
yes,
than there was 5 years ago. I think South Carolina, I think that they're pissed about last year. And I think that they're a little bit of an outlier when I'm like looking all around at the women's game right now. And I think that it's really interesting too, because people are saying like, well, Caitlin Clark is the reason why women's basketball is so popular right now. And I don't think that that's true at all.
No, I mean, she is a reason. She's not the reason.
Right. I think that the rise of the women's basketball superstar came at such a unique time. It came at the time in the sport when the UConns aren't winning 12 national championships in a year.
Yeah.
Or in a year.
In a row.
In a row. You know what I mean? Like, Stanford last year got knocked off and wasn't in the national championship. I mean, there's so many. I'm just thinking about like South Carolina wasn't. When did they get knocked off? The Elite Eight last year?
Final Four.
Was it? I mean, and everyone expected them to go all the way. There's just like so many different teams popping into my mind right now that could give any of these teams a run for their money.
I totally agree.
With the women's game is more and more becoming like an any given night type game. And that means it's becoming like must watch TV, because if you want to see your team win a big game, like you're going to have to watch it, because it's possible that they might not, you know?
Yeah. Yes, I agree with everything you said. And I think the lack of parity was a big point of complaint for a lot of people for a long time, and that's completely changed. I totally agree with you.
And I think some of that has changed because of NIL money.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at this. Look at LSU, for example. They built a super team of superstars who are superstars because of NIL. And then they're even getting knocked off. I totally agree with you. Yeah, it's a different game than it was even 5 years ago. I will say I worry that in this time of growing parity, that the Iowa State that we knew that was consistently top of the Big 12 might have a harder time.
Yeah.
That's good for the sport, of course. Like, that is what we want in the sport. That's bad for us as Iowa State fans.
And we've been saying this for a couple of years, like, evolve or die. This women's team, like, as a whole, has to evolve.
Yes.
And I'm optimistic that they will. I'm optimistic. The reason that I'm optimistic that they will is that we had many years of being a small team, and we said the posts are getting bigger. Get a big. We got some bigs. We evolved.
Yeah. So now we got to use them.
But now it's the next step. We need to evolve a little bit more. We need to bring in more superstars. We need to can't have just one superstar to last us 20 years.
Yep.
Got to bring in another one.
That's right. And that's a challenge. You know, I read something that said, well, Caitlin Clark's the only reason Iowa's good. And I kind of want to be like, okay, like, yeah, I mean, she's obviously the reason why they continue to be excellent,
Right.
But why is that a criticism? Like,
right.
Good for them. So I want to find the next whomever to be that. And it doesn't have to be like that kind of a mega star, but like that level of takeover game type of guard. And I don't know if any of these freshmen are that. It's too early to tell.
Yeah.
But I agree with you completely. Like, get those bigs, use them, and then what's next? And that's just the way. It's the way the men's game has been for a long time. Like, the constantly moving forward and thinking about what's next. And I think the women's game is there.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we don't fall behind.
The women's game's getting more competitive, and that's so exciting.
Yes. And it's faster and it's more exciting to watch from a fan perspective. Yes, you're absolutely right. So as the game progresses, I'm hopeful that Iowa State progresses right along with it. And you're right, this season could be rough just because of the youth and the loss of Emily Ryan, which hopefully she can come back at some point. We'll just wait and see. But immediate future, Vanderbilt Friday, Syracuse Saturday, out in Vegas. We'll see how they come around. And then it's wild. We're going to get through this Iowa game, non-conference, and then conference play is going to be here before we know it.
And I think it deserves a note that Izzy Zagaro left the team to just personal things, to work on some personal things. So
she said, she came out and said mental health, and we've talked very adamantly on this podcast that mental health is health.
Yep.
And I firmly believe that to this day, probably more than I did even before. So good for Izzy doing what she needs to do, and proud of her for doing what she had to.
Yep.
Volleyball, Alisa took a road victory over number 21 Houston. I feel like every time we come on this podcast, we have something fun to say about volleyball.
Yeah.
They ended Houston's 8-match win streak. It was their third ranked victory of the season. Some notable points: Brooke Stonestreet, Eric Stonestreet's niece, which we figured out thanks to producer Aiden last time, crossed the barrier, 1,000 digs on her career. She's the 18th Cyclone to do so. It was also her 20th double-figure dig outing of the season, and now which puts her 16th in Iowa State history. So she's etched her name very predominantly in the Iowa State history books.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They have UCF and Cincinnati this week, both at home. I think Cincinnati is the senior game, so get out and celebrate those ladies if you can.
Already, jeez.
I know, it's sad. Should we give a shout out to our girl Hope Wood and then take a quick break?
Of course.
Okay. HopeWoodJD.com. Christmas is coming up, Alisa. Have you ever thought to give the gift of a will in a day for a Christmas present? Can you imagine? Hey, Mom, got you a will in the day program.
My brother called me the other day and he's like, "What's your social security number?" And I was like, "Not again. Not in this economy." And he was like, "No." He said, "No, I'm working on like will stuff." And
sure,
I know.
But did he use HopeWoodJD.com?
Well, he didn't. He is in LA and he was working on some stuff through his job. Fine. So I don't know if it was necessarily his will, but it was like insurance and stuff. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. But it got the wheels turning. Got me thinking.
That's right.
Got me thinking about will in a day.
Get your will done in just a few short hours with our friend, Iowa State Cyclone supporter Hope Wood. Use code FANATIC for $50 off her Will in the Day program. All right, we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back and talk all things soccer. Okay, Alisa, we talked last episode about the NWSL championships that were coming up. Our girl Megan Rapinoe ending her career. Not only did she not end her soccer career as an NWSL champion, but as she put it, she yeeted her Achilles, which that's what the kids say. She's older than we are, but apparently she could say it because she's cool. She busted her Achilles just moments into the match. Early. Yeah, like minutes into the match. So we've got Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and Megan Rapinoe all with what is happening? What is in the air?
Yeah.
Is there some Achilles germ out there that's weakening the Achilles of these superstar athletes?
I don't know.
Anyways, it was a bummer to see her go out like that. But she had a great attitude about it. I mean, I think she's just ready for her career to be over. So sad to see her go out. But the good news is New York, New Jersey, Gotham Football Club went from worst to first. They finished last in the league last year, finished as NWSL champions this year. First championship in club history. I checked the viewership numbers. TV viewership was down just a smidge from last year, but in-person attendance was up. And I think all of that was probably overshadowed by the big news that was leaked by the league this week. They have a new 4-year domestic rights partnership worth $240 million. It's with Amazon, CBS, ESPN, and Scripps. It's the biggest broadcast deal ever for a domestic women's sports league. It's big for more reasons than just the dollars. Obviously, when you put games on channels and networks that are viewable, it works. The 3 most viewed games on TV in NWSL history are all games that were broadcast on major networks, which is no surprise. But 118 matches next season will be broadcast, over the next 4 seasons will be broadcast on those networks. So that's a huge just visibility factor that was not in existence prior. So before it was Paramount, which I don't think a lot of people have, occasional games on CBS Sports Network. Now we've got a split between CBS Sports, ESPN, Prime Video, and Scripps. So huge. 40-fold increase from their current deal with CBS. 40-fold.
And people now know how to watch Prime Video because of the Monday Night Football. Wait, Monday? Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. So that was one of those deals that came out and kind of took my breath away, because it was one of those moments where I was like, all right, they've made it. They've officially made it. So it was great to see. U.S. Women's National Team, Emma Hayes, named the next coach of the team. It was announced last week. She's 47 years old, from England. She's stepping down as the Chelsea head coach at the end of the Women's Super League season next year. I don't know what you read, but everything I read was praise for this hire.
So I was going to ask you what you thought of this, because the headline that I read was that she was set to become the highest paid coach in women's soccer.
Yes. So amazingly, her salary is going to match that of the men's coach for the first time ever, $1.6 million per year. So I think that's probably a show of good faith by U.S. Soccer to say, all right, it's time. We've talked a lot of talk about equality, and here it is.
Yeah.
And I just about dropped my mic. That would have been bad and really loud. Everything I read from current players, past players, current coaches in the NWSL all said that they're really pleased by this hire. So again, that's probably I feel like that's not the kind of like universal support that we've seen for any U.S. soccer decision lately. So that was good to see as well.
Yeah.
All right. That ends my soccer
things update about it, and I got excited about her being paid. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to see. Alisa, we're back. We took a quick break because Alisa was dead. We're back. We're both out of breath, but we're back. I don't know if you saw this. I know you said you had a friend over for dinner last night, but on the Manning cast last night, Caitlin Clark became the first college athlete to ever appear. Not only just the first female athlete, the first college athlete. So I thought that was pretty cool that they recognized game.
Yeah, I heard it.
Game recognizes game.
I was listening to Murph and Andy, and Keith just dies for Caitlin Clark, and he's like, she's gonna be the first college athlete to ever be on the Manning cast. And Andy was like, does anybody watch that?
Hey, I will say in years past, I tuned in specifically for the Manning cast.
Yeah.
Last night, I did not, only because it's the Chiefs and I wanted to pay attention to the game.
Yeah.
But I looked at the lineup, and now I can't even recall who else was on it. But good for her. She's a diehard, longtime, like forever Chiefs fan. So I bet that was pretty cool to sit with those two.
Yeah, they do have some fun guests. They had Arnold Schwarzenegger, like talking to a donkey. Will Ferrell.
Now that you say that, I saw a clip of it.
Yeah. They have some funny guests.
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger I don't know if he had like internet issues or something, but it was funny. They're funny.
They are funny. I adore both of them. And I don't know what it is. They're just I don't know. They're just like these normal, regular, like Southern guys that don't take themselves too seriously. And
yes, I've always, and I think too, like we've seen like Peyton Manning on all these commercials and everything like that. And Eli was always known for just being like
straight-laced and like
yeah, but like for the lack of a better word, like kind of dumb.
Yeah, and boring.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
boring. Yeah, and like beige. And but he's so funny on the show. And you can tell that like all of those things, he puts them together in like a very like charming package.
Yes.
That like works for him.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it wasn't like a negative thing. You've put all of them together to be like a positive thing.
It kind of reminds me of I don't find Kirk Cousins as entertaining, but after watching that quarterback series, I'm like, all right, I kind of like you.
Yeah.
And he tweeted a picture of himself out, or he has that Achilles surgery, so he's got the boot on. He's sitting in his recliner, and it looks like my parents' living room. Like he lives a very understated life.
Yes.
And it's just this like, oh, you're a good old boy. Like just this, there's something about him that's so unassuming that's hard to not like. And I feel like Peyton and Eli are the same way.
Yes, which is rare. Because it's so easy to hate. And we were talking about this earlier. Like, how do you hate Brock Purdy? How do you hate
vibe.
But people do.
I know.
But in general, I mean, people didn't hate Eli. They just thought he was like overrated.
Yeah.
They thought he was just like lucky for having won so many Super Bowls, which
it's
is
weird.
kind of like,
you know what? Now that you say that, it really doesn't make sense because I think people didn't like Eli because they felt like it was silver spoon, right?
Yeah.
And Brock is the opposite. He's Mr. Irrelevant. And it's like people are pissed that Mr. Irrelevant is successful. And I don't get it. Like, why are you mad about that? It's an amazing story. Just embrace it and have fun.
Right.
It's freaking weird.
I swear that it's that just like people. I don't know.
Jealousy?
It's jealousy in the way that like they know they could never do that, but they think that it's maybe because they just never got the opportunity.
Like Uncle Rico, like stop. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
why do you keep bringing up Uncle Rico?
Because there's a lot of Uncle Ricos out there right now. Like, and I saw something on Twitter. It was Jason Kelce walking into the game last night. He had on his leather jacket from high school, or maybe it was a replica. But, and the tweet was walking in, all the class of 2009 guys walking into the bar on Thanksgiving. And it's so true. Like, there's this subset, and it's mostly men. Like, there's probably women like that too, but there's this subset of men who are like, oh, if I would have had that opportunity. Like, no, you couldn't.
Yeah.
No, you couldn't.
Like, Joe Burrow's dad was the coach of my high school football team. And none of the guys that I went to high school with would ever be as good as Joe Burrow. And weird. It's hilarious.
I don't know how we got here. The Mannings. That's how we got here.
Yeah. But I think you're right, though, that like they are so beloved because they could be any guy, whereas Brock couldn't be any guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know what it is.
Also, I think in like post football, especially with Eli, I think Peyton showed early on, like, he came from this amazing football family, but he didn't take it for granted. And he, you know, like he was verbal about that. And I don't think Eli showed that until later. And now that he's showing it, it's like, all right, he's a good dude.
And Peyton also did a lot like with SNL. He was on SNL a lot that made him kind of, I feel like people liked him because of that.
He didn't take himself seriously. Yeah, it's interesting. I would like to go. Well, and I think that's the other reason the Manning cast is so entertaining, because they bring these guests on who are just like larger than life, you know? And then you've got Eli and Peyton sitting there. Like, and it's just this weird dichotomy that doesn't really fit, but that makes it work.
And it makes it work because they are to football as their guests are to
good point.
Whatever it is that and so then their guests are there in something that's kind of out of their realm.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right. You are right.
And they're more in like Peyton and Eli's realm, but Peyton and Eli welcome them like they're old friends.
Yeah.
I don't know. How did we get on this? Like,
I don't know, but you're
Manning
right.
cast love fest.
This analysis of the Manning cast.
But I do love the Manning cast.
I do too. I'd like to go back and watch Caitlin solely for the fact that it's fun to watch women talk intelligently about sports in that capacity. And I want to talk about this in the red flag, but women who take that for granted really piss me off. So, yeah. So good for Caitlin. Another female who really made a name for herself. We talked about her last podcast and about a year ago. Erin Matson, the North Carolina field hockey player turned coach. We told you she was conference champion in her first year coach. Well, now she's first year national champion, Alisa. 4 national titles as a player, turns around, becomes the coach immediately after graduating. She's now a 1-time national champion as the coach. Like, what a story. I hope someone does a 30 for... Do they still do 30 for 30s?
I don't know.
If they do, if they don't, they should bring it back just for this story. If they do, they should absolutely add this to the agenda.
Yeah. That's all right. Yeah. And I've seen people all over like posting about it.
Yeah.
It's a big story.
It is, and it should be a big story. That's an incredible feat.
Yeah.
And I know it's field hockey, but like we talked about it last time, to be able to take over from the player to coach scenario in no time, I just think it's incredible.
Yeah.
I am ready for our beige flag and red flag if you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have I already told all mine?
You might have.
Okay. Go ahead.
Beige flag. I had the opportunity to go to Vegas to watch the Raiders and the Jets. And Raiders fans are a different breed, let me tell you. Which is not a surprise. I knew this going into it, but it was my first time seeing them in the flesh out in Vegas. And there were a lot of men dressed up in full costume, like painted faces, shirtless, these crazy, I don't even know what you would call them. Like, they almost look like jailers from like goblin jailers. Like, they just had like chains and stuff all over there, but they look like monsters. My point is, it was insane. Like, what they were wearing was insane. But I thought about it and I was like, you know what? Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you for going out and looking like a ridiculous human just to cheer for your football team. So my beige flag is men who go all out in costume for football games. Just don't freaking come back at us for going all out for Taylor Swift concerts or whatever the hell we want to.
Can my red flag be for a very brief moment on the game yesterday? They showed a man of like
I know what you're gonna
dude,
say.
And he had a Cookie Monster tattoo on his bare belly, and the mouth was his belly button.
I did see that. That is not a red flag. That is, in fact, a very, very red flag.
I just caught a cramp laughing at that.
I saw the same thing and I was like, what did I just
see? It was just a brief moment.
But you couldn't not see it. Like, if your eyes were anywhere near the television, you were there.
So they went to it and then our internet like yeeted. And we like couldn't see it and I was like, what's going on?
That's probably okay, to be completely honest. I have several red flags today.
Okay.
It's one of those days.
Okay.
Did you have a beige flag first, or did you already say it?
No. I think I've already said them all.
Okay. I have several red flags. The first of which, people saying, and so far I've only seen men saying it, but there's probably women saying it too.
Mm-hmm.
People saying that Taylor Swift is the reason Travis Kelce has not been playing well.
Oh, she wasn't there.
Well, no, she wasn't there because she was in Brazil performing. But here's my thing.
Okay.
Let's not blame women for men's bad performances.
Yep.
First of all, I do not think that Travis Kelce has had a dip in performance because of Taylor Swift. Like, that's freaking ridiculous. But secondarily, even if that were true, like statistically, even if it were true, that's his own damn fault.
It is.
He can't be focused on football and his girlfriend or partner or whatever. Like, it's not her fault.
Right.
If I see that again, I'm going to lose my lid.
Is that like a thing that when you start dating somebody that you're then not as good at your job, or is it just specifically in sports? Because it doesn't make any sense to me.
People were saying that Taylor Swift was like the Yoko Ono of, which, like, don't laugh. You're perpetuating the issue here. But, like, I thought it was really shitty. Like, I'm sorry. Whose fault is that? That's not her problem. That's a Travis Kelce problem.
It is a Travis Kelce. And Travis Kelce also was not the person who dropped the game-winning touchdown pass.
He did drop a couple of passes.
He dropped a couple passes
in the red zone. He fumbled in the red zone. Anyway. So that's red flag number 1. Red flag number 2, Kim Mulkey. For the way she is handling, just Kim Mulkey, period.
Yes.
Period. But also specifically for the way she's handling this Angel Reese situation.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I understand and appreciate her point that sometimes things are just handled internally and we don't get to know the ins and outs of why. Matt Campbell does this. Bill Fennelly does this. TJ does this. Like, sometimes SHIT happens, and that's just for the coaches and the players to deal with. The issue with Kim Mulkey is that she doesn't just say that. She has this big theatrical response about and like makes the reporter sound like a dummy for asking a very valid question. And I just think that she is doing this to draw attention to herself because the woman loves attention.
Yes. And I'm going to bring up 3 male coaches that I think have very similar tendencies.
Ooh, can I guess one?
Yep.
Deion Sanders.
Nope.
Oh,
but
see how that might happen. Yes.
I can definitely add him to the list. These are more seasoned coaches.
Okay. All right. Can I guess one more?
Yeah.
Are they men's coaches?
They're all men's coaches.
But I mean, like, do they coach men?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Bill Self.
Nope.
Okay, just tell me.
Okay. So I think, first of all, Greg Popovich is known for being mean. For being mean and condescending and not answering questions. And
I didn't know this about him.
He is known for that, but also, like, behind the scenes, a very, like, kind and generous person.
Interesting. Because that's how I've always known him. That's interesting.
However, like, Pop will not answer your questions, will give you one-word answers. Bill Belichick also.
Oh, yes.
Very condescending, will not give you any information, just kind of mumbles under his breath. The last one, this is going to be controversial.
Kirk Ferentz.
I mean, is that not the most condescending laugh you've ever heard? Every time I hear him laugh like that,
you sound like a horse.
Right. It's like, can't believe you even asked that. Like, I find him, and and I named the other 2 first, so you guys would not hate on me for being an Iowa hater.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, 100%. So good. I think 100%. He's that way too. I totally
find him to be incredibly condescending. He was condescending with the whole Brian Ferentz thing. Yeah. I find him to be condescending when people ask questions that he doesn't want to answer.
He hates talking about the quarterback. Yeah.
And so
I agree.
I don't know. I don't know. People want to hate her.
I mean,
she has some traits that are hateable.
But I agree
people
with you.
Also other coaches do this as well. Maybe not so much in a look at me type of way.
And I agree with you completely. This is not limited to Kim Mulkey. She just happens to be the one that's doing it right now with a very high profile player. So she's just she's something. My last red flag, 3 of 3, Carissa Thompson, Fox Sports Amazon Prime Video analyst.
Carissa Thompson. I have to look her up. Hold on.
Okay, tell me when.
Okay, yeah.
She apologized because she said she used to make up reports when she worked as an NFL sideline reporter.
What?
She said it on Pardon My Take.
What kind of? And I wonder how common this is.
It's not. All of these other female sideline reporters came out and were like excuse me, we worked our tails off to get to this job. We take it very seriously. We have established relationships with coaches so that they will talk to us. Like, how awful are you?
That's crazy.
Now, she clarified her statement, said she used to do it earlier in her career. She never did anything that the coaches didn't tell her, like before the game, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, the damage is done. Women already have a difficult enough time being taken seriously. And then you go say something like this. I always say this. I've said it gazillion times on this podcast. Someone go back and count all the times. I guarantee you it's a gazillion. You don't have to be a banner carrier, but don't get in the way.
No.
And that kind of stuff gets in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You know what? There was a reporter on some ESPN show the other day, and she was talking about football in a way that I have not seen many women talk about football. And I just sat there and kind of watched her, and then the segment got over and it was gone, and I was like, oh, I should have like looked at who she was. But I was just like enjoying her report. I'm going to do some research and see if I can figure out who she is before the next podcast, because we should shout out
the good instead of the idiots.
Yeah.
I lied to you. I'm sorry. I actually have a fourth red flag.
Did you lie to me about your sideline reports as well?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
My last and final red flag of the podcast. Thanksgiving food. It sucks.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what to do right now. I'm shaking. I
stand by my opinion.
Guys, this has been an incredible run. 100 and some podcasts.
111.
We've enjoyed our time here, but unfortunately, this will be the last.
It's just not good. That's all I have to say. Respect my decision.
Maybe we should take this offline, but I would like to ask respectfully.
My mom and grandma were great cooks, if that's what you're about to ask. It has nothing, like they prepared everything exactly how it's supposed to be prepared. I just think Thanksgiving food is dry, bland, and blah.
Okay. Well,
turkey is dry. Turkey is a dry meat.
I make a rosemary and garlic roulade that goes in the middle of a filleted turkey breast, and I roll it up and roast it for an hour and a half, Alisa, and it is moist and delicious.
That sounds moist and delicious, but that's not Thanksgiving food. That is your take on Thanksgiving food, which I would happily eat.
It is a turkey.
That is not Thanksgiving food. I would eat your Thanksgiving food, but it would have to say like Thanksgiving asterisk by Alisa.
I make Kamala Harris's cornbread stuffing.
Kamala Harris?
Yes.
Really?
She has a phenomenal sausage. I thought I heard somebody outside. The FBI is like, don't give away her secret. Yeah. It's like sausage, cornbread stuffing. I've been making it for years now. It's delicious. She tweeted about it one time. And it's very good.
I would eat your Thanksgiving.
I add cream cheese to my mashed potatoes.
Ooh.
Makes them delicious. I make a sweet potato casserole that's dessert.
Yes, that's how it should be.
I make my own cream of mushroom soup and top my green bean casserole with fried onions that I make. I fry them. Onion rings.
Now this I can get behind. Let me rephrase, because
I love Thanksgiving food.
Traditional Thanksgiving food, as in like the 1950s traditional Thanksgiving food, not good. Okay. Alisa's Thanksgiving food, good. Very good.
Do you like stovetop stuffing from a box?
If it was I would eat it.
I would eat it. I love it.
I like stuffing. I will say I like stuffing.
Okay. Yeah. What don't you like then?
I think turkey is dry.
Okay, you just don't like turkey.
No. I will eat green bean casserole. Like, it's fine.
Okay.
But to me, it's kind of like just a like mush. I
Okay.
don't like corn plain. Like, I like corn on the cob. I don't like corn just plain on my
You like
plate.
corn? You like a corn casserole?
I would eat a corn casserole.
Oh.
I don't like gravy, like, pretty much on anything.
Oh.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well,
Stuffing is okay. I can get behind stuffing.
yeah.
I used to not like sweet potato casserole. I've come around on that. I can do a decent sweet
Mhm.
potato casserole. It's just, but it's not my
Okay.
favorite.
Okay. Well, we will
We'll take this offline.
we'll take this offline.
Wait,
Guys,
I'm sorry, go
send
ahead.
us a tweet. What do you think? Yay or nay?
Am I
Thanksgiving
wrong or am
food.
I right? Yeah, please do
Pie.
actually.
Pumpkin
Oh, I
pie?
love pie. Like, give me
Okay,
all the
okay.
pie.
Okay.
All the pie.
We're back. We're
We're
back,
back.
guys. There will be a 112.
Praise me. Last thing I want to mention, Alisa, I want to give a little shout out to We Will. The We Will Collective is challenging Cyclone Nation to raise $600,000 by the end of the 2023 calendar year. And that's made much easier by a group of generous donors who have agreed to match up to $300,000. So all we need to do is get to 300 and magically $600,000 appears. Donors right now, there's a special for the holidays. If you give $50 or subscribe to a $50 membership, you'll receive a commemorative slate ornament, which the cool part is that's in collaboration with Cheers Inc., which is an ISU alumni owned small business here in Central Iowa. So this is a really important time for We Will. I mentioned it before, but we don't want those young football players getting poached by other schools.
Mhm.
There are some stars on this team, rising
Mhm.
stars, and other teams aren't silly and dumb. They see it. So let's do all we can, contribute what you can to make sure that we can keep those guys in Cardinal and gold. That's my spiel.
I love it.
That's all I got for you.
That's all I got too.
Happy Thanksgiving. I hope
Gobble,
your food
gobble.
is delicious. Gobble, gobble. Go Cyclones.
Go State.